Kingston upon Thames, London, July 19th, 2017. I actually had came across this story when I was reading about Qadil Balak, the honor killing. So I thought I'd share this story after I read it. It's a lot. It was all over the place, so I tried to just stick to the story simply, and this is pretty much what I gathered. The woman who would take the stand at the Old Bailey courthouse, her name was not allowed to be published, so I will just call her Amelia. Amelia was 21 years old, and she would take the stand. She was still terrified that Mujahid Arshad, 33 years old, he was in the courtroom. She had to remember all the horrible details she witnessed, heard, and had endured herself. Quote, flashbacks and nightmares prevent me from moving on, end quote. She recalled that she had texted her boyfriend and told him that she had been kidnapped and not to reply back. She then texted her mother and told her he's going to kill me and not to reply back. I would be frantic if my child or my boyfriend texts something like that and I can't respond back. Some would say, why didn't she try to call the police? But remember, she's texting. I guess it's quiet and unsuspecting. I don't think you can text the police. Amelia was kidnapped from work. Her friend was actually kidnapped while showering. Arshad actually had some type of access to that home. She had called Arshad, I also may call him Mujahid, but that's both his names. She would call him a psycho. Hearing her friend's body thrown around, hearing her friend screaming for her life, knowing her friend was tied to a chair. 2014, this is 2 years prior now, Amelia is on the stand. Arshad had told an undercover cop in a chat room that he had plans to drug and fuck a 17-year-old virgin. Made me think, was these one of those two women that he had now? Or somebody totally different? He was not arrested. He was not even charged because he would tell the police that someone he worked with had used his phone and had wrote those messages. And I guess it was hard for them to find out if that was true. They couldn't prove it, so he got away with that. He was also inspired by, and I won't say this man's name, but it is a murderer that would take people and put them in acid. An infamous murderer that would take people and put them in acid. He was so inspired by that. He actually got a second email and named it Indeed an Acid Bath at blankblank.com. That's what he did. He Googled how to cut up a body because he was actually coming towards the end of his plan. And he actually Googled that about days before he would actually have his plan going into play. He was currently renovating a $1.5 million home. He had purchased a chest freezer for himself. Now, mind you, he worked for somebody or he was, self-employed. I don't know. But this was not his home. I just need to get that straight now. This was not his home. He was renovating it. So he had purchased that chest freezer, deep freezer. He had purchased that and put it in the home because, again, he's working on his plan. He asked a man that worked with him or for him, I'm not sure. I am actually, I read so many articles. I want to make sure that I'm covering everything. So either this man worked for him or with him, but he asked him. He asked him to help with this evil, bizarre plan that he had. And it included his niece and Amelia. Celine Dookhran, that's his niece. She was 20 years old. Some articles say 19. And she was working as a bank teller. But she had dreams to become a makeup artist. She had social media presence already where she was showing people how to do makeup and makeup tips. Very, very pretty girl. She could do whatever she wanted. She was 20. She had a whole life ahead of her. Her family, though, they hadn't been too happy with her lately because she was in a situation that they did not like. She was dating an Arab Muslim man, and her family wanted her to marry a Pakistani Muslim man. And Celine was dating an Arab. So the family had a meeting, and Uncle Arshad had attended. He had came with he was armed, with an axe in his hand to probably intimidate his niece. Celine's family only thought that they were going to talk to get her to change her mind and leave the Arab man alone. But Uncle Arshad, he had other plans unbeknownst to them. In some articles, Celine actually left her family's home and went to stay in a home of her uncle. Now, I did remember in some of the court trials that I was looking at, he didn't have an address at the time. So maybe this, I'm just guesstimating, maybe was able to secure a property for her to stay at. That's what I'm thinking at. Probably so, because he had this $1.5 million home in his grips to continue with the plan. So maybe this was a property he had let her stay out to continue with his plan. You'll understand what I'm saying in a minute. So Celine was more than likely in that property that Uncle Arshad was able to get to. He had access to. So while Celine was going to decide what was best for her family's beliefs or her, she left the family home to go stay there. Her uncle is still continuing to get this plan together. Celine and Amelia, they had boyfriends, and he knew that these women were sexually active with these men, and he was angered by this, so angry that it became an obsession with him. These two young women were doing these things, and they just had to be a stop to it at any cost. They were sinning. They were going against what Uncle Arshad believed in. So he would get Vincent Tapu, that's his co-worker, to help him do this honor killing. Celine and Amelia needed to die. Now, it's said that the co-worker only helped to the point in the kidnapping. That's why I'm not going to really add him too much in this story anymore. He did not participate in anything after the kidnapping. He helped kidnap the two ladies. On July 19th, Arshad and Vincent Tapu had managed to kidnap both women by binding them, gagging them, securing them to put them in the boot of his truck using guns and tasers, and would bring them to that 6-bedroom house that Arshad was renovating. He was wearing a balaclava. I probably said that wrong, but it looks somewhat like a ski mask. He had glasses on and pajamas, and Tapu had his face covered, and he wore gloves. And after that, Tapu dipped. He was gone. He was done. I think he was thrown a little bit of money, but he was done. So now inside the empty house was Mashahad's plan that he had concocted for the courts say months, I say years, and you will see now why. He would beat, torture, and rape his niece. She fought back. He would slice her throat right there. He then would beat and rape Amelia. While he was about to slice Amelia's throat open the same way he had just did Celine, she asked him for a kiss. She asked them to run away together, covered in blood, scared, knowing she was about to die. He had just killed Celine right in front of her. She told him that she loved him and that she wanted to be with him. He would respond, "I'm not good enough for you." I believe he also was referring to Celine. He didn't think he was good enough for both of those women, because this is why he had to resort to this. Because remember, they were having sex with a non-family member, and he didn't like that. Mujahid had even continued to perform sexual acts and have sexual situations with his dead niece. He would then tell Amelia, right before slicing her throat open, that she had 10 minutes to live, and he would leave the house. This is footage of him actually leaving the house. He backs his vehicle up to check something. I'm not sure what he was trying to check, but this is him. Calm, cool, and collected. I believe he even had changed his clothes because he's in regular attire. I have to add stuff because, this article or the articles I'm reading are from overseas, so they leave some things out, so I have to kind of speculate and add some things. But obviously, he doesn't look bloody. He's not in pajamas. And this is him right now. Amelia was able to escape, go to a hospital where she would then tell police exactly what happened to her and who was the culprit. The keys to the deep freezer would actually be found in the car that Mashahad was driving in. I actually also saw footage of him at a convenience store, sitting around, I believe at a train station, but he was arrested. Normally I'm more thorough in my videos, but it's so much information to this. Again, I just wanted to stick to the gist of the case. So Mashahad, he actually received 40 years in prison, and hopefully he doesn't get out. He would actually tell the courts that Amelia was the one that had killed his niece, that Amelia had came in while he was, having sexual relations with his niece, and she just got so upset that, she had killed her, and that, him and Amelia, they were having a love affair. So basically, he was just a really horrible and sick man. This story I had just came across while I was doing the story that is posted right before it of the model that had the so-called honor killing by her brother. So you see this happens. This happens, through that culture that do honor killings. I can't even think of the word for it right now, but that, they do honor killings. Celine's, her parents did not ask for that. All they wanted was for their daughter to just rethink her relationship with the Arab man and to marry a Pakistani. I don't know how far it would have gotten, but they were heartbroken that he did that. I believe the mother said that he was an evil and sick man. And he was. He definitely was. So that is the story of Celine Dookhran. And luckily her friend was able to escape to tell the story. And honor killings. You know, I'm going to probably look more into it. I mean, we kind of have a good idea what they're about. But I'm going to definitely be more accurate. And I'm going to definitely talk more about the honor killings too. Because it definitely, in my book, is a dark idea.